want to introduce Marco, who has a long history in the entertainment business, worked at a variety of firms on the venture side and entertainment side, and now is president and CEO of PlayFirst, a company that you probably all have known in the casual space. I like to think of it as the creators of my favorite waitress, Flo. Here to tell you some really interesting things about what they're doing as a company and some very useful things I think you guys can learn for pivoting as we're all kind of doing these days, right? And here's Marco from Dash to Rush. Give him a hand.
Yeah, thank you very much. Can you hear me? Yes? No?
Oh, turn it. Is it turned on?
There we go. My apologies. Thanks for the intro. The original title was From Dash to Flash, and I changed that. I have a hidden agenda. I'll tell you why. And as you know, PlayFirst has a rich history. I joined the company less than 2 years ago, and since I joined, our sole and complete focus has been on mobile gaming. So from that perspective, we're about a 2-year-old mobile gaming company with rich history and sort of franchise to leverage. What I really want to talk to you about is really 3 sort of key ideas that are essential to our longevity and success. And our intent is to share our learnings with you and hope that it benefits you. Again, by no means these are the only 3 areas for prolonged success, but these are key areas for us in terms of where PlayFirst was and where we're going right now. So let me get into some of the details. So the reason is From Dash to Rush is we released a new title called Diner Dash Rush. Came out about a month ago. Got 1 million installs in the first 5 days and great reception. It's a sort of Blitz style game, leaderboards, very competitive, very fast, and you buy boosts and so forth. And it really also, we improved Flo. Flo has been stuck in the 90s. Now she's much more modern and still hip, strong, entrepreneurial, and very committed. In terms of the areas that I really want to talk about, and by the way, one of the things I realized, I only have 20 minutes. And each one of them is probably worth several hours of discussion in terms of insights on what we learn, our good and bad experiences, and how we really leverage all that. So, the first one is maximizing revenues through live ops and game as service, which I'll talk about. Second part is how do we really manage CPI and user acquisition through our proprietary network called P3N. P3N stands for PlayFirst Publishing and Promo Network. And finally, storytelling. We love gameplay based on enduring characters. Given my time limitation, what I'll do is I'll basically go from back to front, briefly talk about the storytelling and CPI management, and really focus on more maximizing revenue through game as service and live ops. Okay, I haven't figured this out yet, but so talk about enduring characters. If you think about Dash franchise, which is probably 2nd or 3rd most downloaded game content globally, and it's all about Flo and her really ambition, her drive, and she's a former stockbroker going through difficult times. Start bussing tables at a diner, and then goes to Cooking Dash with her grandma, with her friend at a Wedding Dash. Her friends are getting married, need a high quality hotel and Hotel Dash. So Flo's story is really well liked and well followed, and it's an engaging, addicting time management gameplay. And then what we've done over the years that created other stories are also enduring. If you look at SpongeBob Diner Dash, another great character in a Flo style time management experience. And Hotel Transylvania Dash, Sony's great animation came out last year, which we think will be a big franchise play. Also has great engaging characters. So for us, enduring character and storytelling are really important. And as a result, our games last over 2-3 years. And they make as much money, if not more, they did 2 years ago. So let me jump to part 2. This is the CPI management and really user acquisition leverage. One of the things we did 2 years ago was to make sure that we invest in our own network. And in a sense, you can assume we have our own Tapjoy or Chartboost proprietary network. We only allow our own content. So when you play one of our games, we cross-promote another game to you. or we promote something about the game that you're playing. And it's a game that really replicates some of the great ad networks out there, but this belongs to us. And if you look at the growth in the last 20 months or so, we went from 4 million MAUs. I think we're going to end July around 13 million MAUs or so, depending upon the final numbers. And we're really proud of our investment building our own proprietary network and the leverage it gives us. In terms of the benefits, if you look at the network benefits, this basically shows you our install rate by month last year, and green part is the paid acquisition. The benefit to us has been we spend very little on paid acquisition compared to our competitors are same size or bigger as either actual numbers or fraction of revenue. And for us, our investment has been build a brand as a PlayFirst, build Dash as a sub-brand, invest in our network, and we'll continue to improve the network, make sure that when we do cross-promotion is efficient, effective, and really target your needs. And that's an evolving system. But for us, the benefits have been enormous. If you look at it, most of the installs come from our network and organic marketing and UA activities. As a result, our eCPI is literally in cents. So let me jump to the main topic that I thought I would have decent time to share that with you, which is really maximizing revenue through game as service and live ops. Again, every company has a different style, different model. For us, when we ship a game as a global release, that's the beginning of the journey. We spend the following 3, 4, 5 months, sometimes longer, in very hands-on, active live ops to make sure that we incorporate the understandings and observations from the user behavior, continue to iterate the game. And if you look at the game development, frankly, you start with iteration, you continue with iteration, right? You have a game idea, you prototype, make sure the game mechanics are engaging and enduring, and then when you release the game, and you have a theory and you have the actual results, and you have to react to population behaviors and dynamics. So obviously, monetization itself deserves an extensive discussion, but let me talk about, in a high level, our components of monetization. We sort of look at the 4 parts. One is that what is the real world economics and the value creation? Basically, has to do with player motivation and also translate the behavior of the purchase and economic transactions into real world. For example, scarcity. And what's the scarcity? What's the currency in the game? And what's the utility? If I buy this, I'll get something else. So there's a utility value of the again, currency or the boost or potion. And the other part is opportunity cost. Should I really grind another day, or should I do something else? High level, our monetization philosophy is based on positive experience. We try not to frustrate people. We try not to discourage them. We try to sort of funnel them through an experience that is positive. They get results. They want to spend more money. And that's our philosophy. And as a result, we want to make sure that economic model reflects that. Another part of it is elasticity. How do we design the price? How do we design the price at certain parts of the game? So that's the first part. Second part is population and community management. And looking at the funnel dynamics. We try not to create a lot of economic pressure in the early on, and really funnel them through the progression model that they get to certain pinch points, and based on, again, positive experience at those pinch points, we expect them to spend money. So that's a part of the understanding the population behavior, and also what you monetize in the early phase versus mid phase versus late phase are very, very different. And we also look at the targeting economic value and inflation management or currency balance at different stages of the game. And the third part is messaging the value in terms of how do you visualize the message, and how do you organize the economics of the game? Where do you introduce certain things? So the messaging really becomes very important. It has to be clear, crisp, and to the point. And then finally is segmentation, optimizing the gameplay. Ideally, every player needs an experience that is really in line with their preference and behaviors. So we try to come up with an economic model that really reflects different segmentation and different and optimizes for each segment. So those are the high level, our monetization focus. And in terms of live ops and game as service, it's really a commitment. It's a company-wide commitment. our studio really runs based on very hands-on, active, dynamic game management. All of our games, any given time, run two-week sprints, and we have scrums, and we look at the KPIs daily, and look at the ARPDAUs, and look at the balances, and if we see any degradation any place in this, some sort of drop-offs, and we try to address them. But it's a real commitment across the company, and really has three components for us. First, from the game design and pre-launch perspective, our design philosophy, or initial sort of the high-level design framework, includes monetization as a part of gameplay. So if you look, we have a general game content, game design, and theories about how the gameplay will evolve and how we're going to monetize it. And then we determine some baseline metrics. How we're going to really define success, and what do we do if we don't observe these. And typically we launch our games in small countries, from Singapore to New Zealand to other places, and try to get enough of a population sample to make sense of the beta behavior. But prior to beta, we also do a lot of alpha, small-scale user testing, and actively. And then after all that, you release the game. Frankly, what you do with 5,000 people is sometimes very different from 2 million people, right? So typically our games get about several million installs. And then we really, as soon as the game is launched, we start looking at the KPIs. Looking at the tutorial funnel, where they are, and look at all the events and what's really causing the drop-off, what's causing some of the retention issues. And then we look at the cohorts. If you're running one beta and followed by another beta, we look at cohorts. How is the tutorial funnel is changing between two cohorts? What did we do differently? What did we do to improve? So really to measure, analyze, and really try to gain as much insights as possible. And our PMs and sort of the data people are really go through all over that. And finally, when you have the baseline model, you have the actual data, we incorporate in our roadmap, because before the global release, as you all do, we have a number of roadmap releases that we define what's going to follow the initial release. But based on the population behaviors and your analysis, we modify that, change the roadmap, put the insights into the roadmap, modify it, and then launch another version. And again, content consumption, which I'll talk about. Content deployment is really important. Fine-tuning and dynamic tuning is also important. So this is really our continuous improvement model that Studio goes through with every game. So what that really means in terms of some of the key areas is that what we focus on, again, I'm not going to be able to go through every one of them, but I'll touch upon the highlights. First, user experience, extremely important. And overall user interface and user experience throughout the gameplay, to be consistent, messaging to be very clear, and content cycles. One of the things we've been trying to learn is, how do you create this retail-like experience that gives users great visuals and great pricing information and also great experience, and you monetize. And then the priorities, for us, always retention, engagement, and monetization. Frankly, if you don't have retention, engagement, you don't have monetization. You have a great model. If they're not staying or coming back, tough to monetize. That's great. And then understanding user experience, mapping that user experience into, how do you really create almost choreograph a level ramp? How do they go from 1 through X, or if it's a sort of leaderboard type of game, how do they really progress? We have a general idea how we want to design user experience and adjust the level of difficulty, and then in line with that, what is the economic balance? Do you create an inflation artificially early on so that they start doing some transactions and learn about the value of certain attributes like boosts and potions and all that, and then that economic balance, and you adjust it at mid to high levels. Maybe start creating certain pinch points, and also features. How do you introduce features as the game goes on and players start continue to progress? Okay. In terms of, I have 5 minutes, so in this an iterative process, and what I'm showing you is an example for the tutorial retention. When we launched this game, we saw a significant drop-off during the first 7 levels. We're expecting the target level to be this bar, And then when we launched the game, after really all that testing and there's a beta when it came out and the significant drop-off, it turned out that some of the messaging wasn't really clear. If you lose the people in the first step, they're never coming back, right? That's a significant drop-off. And especially when you have first, second, and third, all of a sudden the significant population is lost front of the funnel, and it's tough to get them back. Re-engagement is really tough in this business because of the 200,000 of the games people are looking at. So, and in this case, version 2 was able to address some of the drop-off points, and it really takes us sometimes 4 or 5 versions to get there. And sometimes what you do up front, it really impacts the downstream. But in this case, we're able to improve the first user experience and really retain people at a higher rate because of the correction in the first 3 levels. The other part is UI and UX. Sometimes you become the victim of your own success. You have a game that's been out there successful, you sort of take it for granted, despite the fact that all I said before this point is we really look at every game actively. When you look at the sort of the basically landing page, you have a really cluttered information. It's a lot of stuff that's telling you and talk about the more games and Facebook and all that. And then on the Ultra screen here, we're talking about the different options, different buttons. So what we did is change all that. And again, this is an ongoing process, make it a lot simpler and really give people small number of options and whatever they are. And I can tell you, it seems very straightforward. The impact on monetization is really significant. When you look at it, like you say, well, that's really stupid. You guys should have seen it months and months ago, and we didn't. But when we did the changes, the monetization, it really improved. And simple things really give you significant multiples. And the other part is when you do all that, and if you look at the monetization, you really look at the sort of retention improvement at the top of the funnel, as you see at the bottom. Retention really improved, pre and post tuning. And then the conversion, we had 2 conversion points. One was at point 7, level 4, level 7, and initially we were not getting there. So by changing the, improving the UI, UX, and really looking at the funnel, we were able to improve the monetization at the pinch points, at 7 and 4. And as a result, overall, the ARPDAU of the game increased by 20%. Again, talking about the steps, you have to really focus on first-time conversion. Again, if you don't have first time, you never have second and third. And for us, I'll show you the example we started this year. Diner Dash has been monetizing really well, but we thought, can we do any further optimization to improve first-time conversion? So we've been optimizing it. So ramped up the optimization in February timeframe, and then looked at the data, did A/B testing, and then finalized the release and went out there, really improved the monetization and first-time conversion. In this case, approximately 70% or so. Again, first-time conversion is something that we really pay a lot of attention to. And remote economy tuning. Part of the game as services that we designed the games so that we can remotely manage it. Remotely manage the economy and economic values and pricing, and also introduction of pricing. So in this case, you're looking at conversion, pre and post tuning. Although the difference doesn't seem much in terms of conversion level improvements, especially these are the mid-levels 13 through 15, the ARPU improvement by those levels were important because the monetization varies at different levels. So overall, by remotely tuning the economy, we're able to improve the monetization. Again, sometimes you get there through 1 iteration, sometimes through more than 3 or 4. Content. Content is extremely important, and as the older the game gets, the shorter the content consumption cycles become. So it's really important. Early on, you have a lot of stuff going on in the game, and then people progress, and then they consume content. Later on, when the game has been out there, you really have to refresh it because you have an established user base. And as the game gets older, content consumption cycles tend to be shortening to about 5 to 7 days. So you have it released, and you go out there within the first 7, 8 days, they go through the new content. They're ready for another one. Therefore, we like to get new versions up there or remotely improved content or updated in every 2 weeks or so, because content consumption cycles are getting shorter and shorter later on. And as you can see here, the bottom is merchandising impact on the new purchase. Merchandising, by that what I mean is, how do you really introduce the content? Make it more active, simple, polish, simple dynamic elements to promote a new feature or pricing information. And we try to learn from the retail operations. Overall, 70% of purchasing in a store is an ad hoc purchase. You go in the store, you see different things, you start buying. So we try to learn from that and do merchandising of the content. The other part is new content. As you can see, that new content really improves the purchasing behavior because they're looking for something different. If you position it right, you can really enhance the user experience and perception. 1 minute, I'm almost there. And what's the benefit, right? And benefit is really, in this case, through content refresh, we were able to improve the engagement. It really improved the DAUs by 25%. Again, additional DAU gives you additional options for more in-app purchasing and so forth. And in this case, what we did was we improved the icon and we improved the map that you're looking at, overall meta map, significantly. As a result, the engagement went up and stickiness went up. In the beginning, we're talking about sustained value. Look, we all love to have Candy Crush and massive hits. It would be great. We're all obviously designing every game with a hit in mind. On the other hand, we're really investing, and we're committed to invest in each game to make sure that we have a sustained value. In this case, what you're looking at is after pretty much 2 years, the game is making almost twice as much money, not including the Christmas peaks and all that kind of stuff. It's making almost twice as much as it was making 2 years ago when it was first launched. But that's really part of our investment and operational model, and you can see the benefits very tangibly. I couldn't really leave without telling you what we're doing this year. Part of our storytelling and really the genre improvement, Diner Dash rushes out. We're also moving on to the Android, Google Play. We have about 8 games right now, doing extremely well. In mid-August, we're going to release Mortal Instruments. That's a Sony feature film coming out. Great story. Again, another enduring character and storyline. And it's about shadow hunters fighting bad guys in New York. And that's a mid-core sim strategy game. And Cloudy with a Chance of Meatball 2. That's another Sony Pictures animation coming out in September. August, September. Another great story. If you know the first movie or the book, the characters are incredibly rich and very engaging. So we're looking forward to all these games. And really, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Do we have any questions?
I know I left you speechless, so I totally appreciate it.
Definitely love the presentation, especially coming from focusing more on the install and what you guys do during that period of acquiring your users. How the games, I'm a fan of the game. How do you guys segment out and target your users? Do you look for new users, or do you want your users to use all 3 games? Or how do you guys target your segmentation of users?
In terms of aging of the population, we try to retain them as much as possible. Our games tend to make, if you look at the monetization behavior over 45 days, it's pretty much equal, same level. And any given time, 70% of our players are return users. And average age is about 3 months. I don't know if I understood. Okay.
All right, one more hand for Marco. Thank you.
Thank you
Great
very much.
presentation.
Thanks a lot.